What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris, this is 4K Motoring, and behind me is our 2001 Corvette. I know it's been a little while since we had this on the channel. We've been fighting through some issues, haven't been driving it a lot. Our attention has been focused elsewhere here lately. But we are back to it, and we have a minor improvement to make. I've been recently having a low idle issue with this car, and when I drive it for a couple minutes and pull into a stoplight, especially with the air conditioner on, it's mostly noticeable. The RPMs will drop down to sometimes around 400 RPM. The car really sounds like it's struggling, and you have to get a little bit of gas on it to keep it running. Other times it'll just idle fine. This is kind of intermittent, and I'm getting a check engine light that's coming on occasionally. Now, it's happened about 3 times with a P0153 code, which is a slow response for Bank 2 Sensor 1 O2 sensor. This is, from what I'm reading on the forums, a pretty difficult issue to really diagnose. With long tube headers like this car has, there is a world of different advice out there on what works, what doesn't, whether the long tube headers are basically resulting in this code happening all the time, or whether it's keeping the sensor from reading correctly. Lots of different stuff out there. What we are going to do, and especially since it's Bank 2, I'll show you why that's important in just a minute. We're going to go ahead and replace that sensor to see if anything happens. I did buy 2 sensors because normally you replace them in pairs, but with some of the things I've been reading online, I'm just going to try replacing the 1 sensor first just to see if that makes any difference. I do have some live data that I did, some data logging on this car with my Blue Driver OBD2 scanner. I'll go ahead and show that on screen right here, and you'll see Bank 1 versus Bank 2, the difference in the overall waveform, which tells me, 1, they're in different spots, but 2, they're not getting the same reading, which might result in the check engine light and the weird idle I'm facing right now. We're going to go ahead and replace it. I'll show you how. If you still have the factory exhaust system on your car, at least headers, Haynes has a really nice repair manual on this online, a good video. I'll link that above here. Check that out. If you have long tube headers like me, check this out. This may be helpful for you. First things first, we're obviously going to jack up the front of the car and take the front wheels off just for a little easier access. I know you guys probably know how to jack up a car. I'm not going to belabor the point on this Corvette. Just make sure you have enough room to get underneath it, because you do have to get under about to where the front door is. Underneath it is where you need to be, so make sure it's high enough that you're able to do that. Second piece is, whenever you're doing any of these electrical sensors, anything that connects to the computer, we do want to make sure we don't run the risk of shorting something out or damaging something further upstream. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect the negative terminal on this battery. I believe that's a 8mm. We'll go ahead and disconnect that, make sure it's not plugged in, and then we'll get to it. This should be a pretty easy swap, I'm hoping. Okay, so as we slide under the car here, again, make sure you have some jack stands on. Not a lot of clearance here. So up under our oil pan here, we'll see our headers, and on the passenger side, that's Bank 2, right here is our Bank 2 Sensor 1 O2 sensor. Very easy to get to. The electrical connector is buried right up in here. You can about reach. It's a tight fit, but it is doable. You can reach that without too much difficulty, no special tools required. We'll get this out. Sometimes they recommend starting the car for about a minute just to let the metal expand a little bit if this ends up being too tight to come out. Obviously, you don't want to burn yourself. This is going to be where the hot exhaust gases are primarily come off the motor. So don't get it so hot you burn yourself, but if you find there's a lot of tension on here where you just can't get it out, go ahead and run the car for about a minute and see if that makes your job a little bit easier. In the grand scheme of things, I gotta say it was not that difficult. Here is the O2 sensor that came out. As you can see the style of it. This is not the exact same style that went in. There's a part number on it. I went with a Denso brand one that had pretty good reviews. Lots of different things online about opening these up and doing different things to make these respond appropriately. The passenger side, as long as it was Bank 2, was really easy to replace, and that one is a little bit farther downstream, I think, than Bank 1 is, which may be the cause of the slow response, and it may end up being something that has to be coded out. But in the 2 years or so I've had this car, I've never had this code before, and I've never had it idle like this before. So I'm hoping this is the issue, just a fuel trim thing related to the O2 sensor. If it's not, we'll have to dive in a little bit deeper to the car. We're still having our active handling error with high temperatures and aggressive right-hand turns. Specifically, I've narrowed it down to that. I'm going to get that troubleshot soon, probably at the dealership where they have a computer that can actually query the right things, because right now I'm getting a code for every single sensor that's in the active handling system, and I don't think they're all failing at once. This is the connector that is on this O2 sensor. It is pretty easy to remove with one hand. It just has one little clip. There's a latch that slides up and over that. You just lift up and it slides right out. One thing I've seen that does occur pretty frequently with these is that the wiring, if it's not held up by one of the connectors on the end, may dangle against the headers and melt, and that'll cause all sorts of issues. So make sure you don't have that problem. Make sure you secure the wires away from the headers and wrap them if you need to. We're going to go ahead and start the car back up, get it all back together, probably clean a little bit under the hood as well, see if we have any change, and hopefully we'll drive it for a couple days with no issues. If you guys have any questions about this, or if you guys are receiving a P0153 code for a Bank 2 O2 sensor slow response, let me know in the comments below. If you've done anything that's fixed it, let me know. Or if you've had a similar idle issue where it just drops down occasionally down to like 400 RPMs and sounds like it's struggling, but it's very intermittent, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you found, what you did with it, and kind of the overall outcome of that. Hopefully this will be all we need to do. We are getting a kind of loud valve train noise from our Bank 2 over here. So we have the, I'm guessing stock, the 241 heads on there right now. We're looking at doing heads and cam to this car, just something mild, bump it up around 400 horsepower to the wheels. We're at 340 right now to the rear wheels. So about a 50, 60 horsepower bump is all we're looking at getting, so still something streetable. That'll be coming soon. We'll hopefully get the active handling system troubleshot and maybe get a couple other little goodies for the vehicle as well. I know it's been a while since we had a Corvette video. If you want to see more of these, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. That way I know we need to produce some more of the Corvette videos. This is what the channel started on, and we still have it. It's still in the works. My problem is that I've hit that point where I'm no longer going to make any money on this car. Its value, I did get a really good deal on it. It's only spending about 10 grand on the car, and we all saw what happened during COVID. Things are starting to level a little bit, but they're still high. The amount of money I've put into this thing right now, I am not getting any more money out of it. So if you guys still want to see stuff being done to this car, I still enjoy driving it. Leave me a comment to let me know what you want to see next. Make sure you like the video. Definitely be some more Corvette content here in the near future. Thank you guys for watching 4K Motoring. Again, I'm Chris. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time.